595. That is so insane. We are so close to that 600 range. It is going to be a crazy number to watch. We have a lot to talk about coming up today. We have China and the US creating some new beef. We have Morgan Stanley saying to buy the dip after the Moody's cut. We got MicroStrategy with some big buys in Bitcoin, some more week by week. We got the US 30-year treasury yield breaches 5%, which honestly hasn't happened in a while. We have 15 trade deals with different countries coming out soon. Big news on UnitedHealth. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot of news on UnitedHealth. A lot of plays to the upside since last Thursday when we seen the lows of 252 and way more. Without further ado, let's get started with the overall stock market. Okay, to start, man, we did have a big decrease on Friday after hours with that bad news with Moody. Instantly filled the gaps back up literally the next day. We have a lot to talk about with that and a lot to talk about with the market, how the market is moving, trade deals and everything like that. So let's get into some news. So Elon Musk AI just landed on Microsoft. So basically the Grok 3 and the Grok 3 Mini models are basically going to be added to Microsoft. So basically a deal that both of them are going to be working together with. So look at Microsoft and Tesla benefiting from this deal. We also have Apple facing court deadline with Fortnite basically restoring it back to the App Store. A little summary of that. Basically, in short, to summarize everything, Apple, they have a lot of fees on their App Store. So any games, anything, any in-app purchases, any purchases in general that take a big percentage of it, they make a lot of money off of this. But Fortnite themselves, Epic Games, they disagreed with this, and then in return Apple basically just banned Fortnite from their app store overall on every single device. At first it was in the US, but other places too had it banned after a while, and now they're kind of fighting a little bit more. There's a little bit more beef coming out. I made a short talking about this a while ago. Basically now they're having a court deadline now on restoring Fortnite to the US App Store. So honestly, man, look at this, to Apple on the downside. Apple hasn't really moving that much. But honestly, man, you could probably see some more downward trends with this because Epic Games and Fortnite is very, very big and can really, really mess up Apple overall. But honestly, this might not affect them too much unless they get sued or something. But honestly, the only outcome with this is maybe Fortnite getting added back to the App Store and maybe a little bit less fees or something like that. But keep this in mind overall. NVIDIA CEO says deeply painful. China H20 chip will cut sales by $15 billion, which is insane. So the ban that they got recently, basically the Biden era, Trump brought it back. And then now we kind of have it a little bit back, but they can't even sell the H20. They're going to make like a variant, another chip that they can sell in China. And honestly, maybe bring their sales up. But with that ban, they already lost $15 billion. So that is a lot of revenue lost. And we could really see that in earnings. We do got earnings, I think the 28th of May. So literally next week. So keep this in mind for NVIDIA overall. So with that being said, China basically said that US is undermining the trade deal, and China warns of retaliation if it doesn't go its own way. So basically, the company before, we kind of seen this company before basically making chips in competition with NVIDIA, making honestly chips for China in general. But honestly, recently US is not focusing on China chips. They basically said they're more focused on US made chips. China felt kind of left out with this. So basically they're kind of demanding US to use their chips too, or at least include it. This might bring some trade fear back because honestly, man, keep in mind that there's no actual trade deal, just agreements right now. So this 90-day pause is just an agreement that happened. It's not really signed or anything. So basically, if US does not meet the demands of China, we can probably see some other bad news related to trade. Sorry for the dirty charts, but honestly, this is why we made that recovery, because the trade war, the trade fears have kind of gone away because China was kind of the biggest trade partner basically. And without China, our economy might go down, and just a lot of companies are going to be affected by that. But now that these trade fears might be back, we might see maybe even a newer low, especially if China hits back even harder, because China is kind of as tough as the USA. They're going to basically stand on their word and kind of make some bad deals overall. So honestly, man, keep this in mind while trading. We are in an upwards trend, upward momentum, bullish trend. We're almost at that 600 level, like I said before. But honestly, if some bad news comes out with trade overall, or this trade 90-day pause just gets like canceled basically, you could see the market selling off again because of that bad news. So keep that in mind. Next, Morgan Stanley says buy the US stock dips, and this was kind of yesterday news, and you probably already heard about this, but basically, man, we seen with that recovery, the recovery came back really, really fast, and it's kind of insane to really think about. MicroStrategy, man, they bought 7,390 Bitcoin for 700 million, and this was just last week. They load up every single week. But with that also being said, man, a new class action lawsuit is against them now for misleading statements about their Bitcoin strategy. So keep this in mind because you might see it to the downside, especially if there's more bad news following this. US yield rises to a highest on record. So keep this in mind because this can really move markets, and just honestly, just be very, very careful. But this is with the rating downgrade. I mean, it might have changed already because the news, honestly, people overlook this news. So we got this news, I think, yesterday also, but basically we're considering 15 tariff deals with different nations after the 90-day pause basically. So basically showing that we're actively making deals. And honestly, man, sooner or later we'll just keep on getting good news, good news, good news, and pumping up the markets. We also have Japan's 30 and 40-year bond yields hit a record high too. So talking back on the downgrade, so it's only bad if people stop buying our debt, but people have been saying that for years, basically saying that people would stop buying our debt and our debt would just get worse and the economy would get worse with it. But honestly, man, our debt is pretty safe and no one's really going to stop buying our debt. Last time in 2011, it happened, basically another downgrade, and basically we seen a 10% decrease, and it also took months for markets to rebound. But this time we seen it really come back overnight. So honestly, man, markets seem pretty strong. Markets are moving pretty strong, especially with the great news with the trade war. But like I said before, with the China news, keep that in mind, because honestly, man, if we get some bad news with trade, I think the markets are going to fall because of that. Because that's like the only thing really pumping us right now. So we're going to talk about UnitedHealth a little bit, because we have been kind of recovering from the lows all the way down from like $250. We're already up $100. So we were trading all the way up at that $600 level. Now we're all the way down to 318, went all the way down to 250. But honestly, we have been getting some bullish news, bullish trends, but they're still honestly going through some bad things. But this is a great stock to look at for your long term, especially maybe in a few years, we might see it back up at that $600 level. So that's almost 2x your money that you put in. But basically, man, we have been getting some good news. So the CEO, the new CEO, they just got a new CEO. They bought $25 million worth of shares, and the CFO bought $5 million worth of shares. The stock is great long term, and these levels are great to get in now before it's too late. Because I mean, honestly, we already rebound almost $100 within like the last week. But they did just have a new CEO, and there's basically no guidance coming out yet, so we don't know how much money they're making or anything. And also a DOJ investigation. So keep that in mind before you guys trade. But honestly, man, these levels right now, I think they're great levels to get in for a long term. And if you guys are short term trading, keep in mind that DOJ investigation can really bring it up or down, and the premiums are pretty much shot right now. So making money is very, very rare unless we get a big move. I mean, we've been getting big moves over like literally every single day, but honestly, man, the premiums are already pricing it in and everything, so keep that in mind. And then now we're seeing China iPhone exports to the US is plunging for a 14-year low, so keep Apple on your radar to the downside. That being said, everybody's favorite part, the supports and resistance and some plays that you can probably make today. So honestly, man, for the SPY, we did bounce off that 595 a few times. So honestly, look at 595, and then past that, look at 596 and that $600 level. But honestly, man, we might get a little bit of a sell-off maybe, but I mean, that's what everybody says, of course. So look at it to the upside first. Just see how it opens. That's what I say all the time. See how it opens, see the momentum, see all the news and stuff like that. And then if it's opening up upwards, you can probably follow it upwards, but watch these levels I gave you to the upside first, because we might have a bounce off of that. To the downside, some levels that we can maybe sell off and then bounce off of are 592.5, 591, and that 590 level is going to be key. And then below that, look at 588.3, 585.3, and then 583.5. So be very, very careful trading SPY, and I do recommend trading your contracts a couple days ahead if you guys are doing option plays. For Apple, man, honestly, with that bad news with China and stuff like that, it might not really affect the stock price too much, but do look at the lows from yesterday of 205. Honestly, if you can get back down there, you can maybe buy a call option, but honestly, man, some levels down there, look at 207.5 and then 205. And all the way down to the lows of 204. To the upside, man, look at 208.5 and then 210 and then 211 and then 212 for Apple. Be very, very careful, because we do have bad news. It's not really moving as much as other stocks. We had a big event yesterday with NVIDIA. Kind of NVIDIA is looking okay right now, but honestly, some levels that I'm very, very pumped to look at is at 140 level. If we can bounce above that 140, probably we see some more momentum upwards unless we get bad news overall. But some levels to watch in the meantime is 135. 136.5, 137.5, and that 140 level. To the downside, look at 134.5, 133.5, and all the way down to that 132, and the lows from yesterday of like 130. So watch 130. If we bounce below that, you might get some more bearish or selling pressure basically coming in. Palantir, man, Palantir hasn't really been moving too much. We lost all the hype at the all-time highs basically, so look at some selling pressure in Palantir. You might see some bears coming in for this, but to the downside, look at 125, 123.5, 122.5, and that 120 level. To the upside, if we could start getting some good buying pressure back in, 127.5, 129, and then 130 to the upside. For Tesla, man, Tesla has been kind of losing, man. We got to that 350 a couple times, and honestly, just haven't really broke past it. So look at that 350 to the upside. If we break above that, look at 355 and 360. To the downside, look at 340. 340 is going to be key. If we sell below that, look at 332.3, and then 330, 325, and 320. Bitcoin, man, we kind of did rally back finally, man. For a couple of days, we kind of been just in the 103 range. So we did make a breakout to that 105 and then broke past it, man, 106. So honestly, man, just watch Bitcoin, be very, very patient. If it's moving downwards, you can play some put options. Moving upwards, you can play some call options. And some stocks to watch for calls and puts. Look at MSTR and Coinbase. And if you guys want to get into some cheap calls and puts, I recommend IBIT. You can make a decent amount of money. IBIT did move a decent amount yesterday, as you can see, but the plays are mainly like $300 to $400. They got a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind for the premiums. But honestly, yesterday you would have made a decent amount of money. With that being said, guys, thanks for watching the video. Smash the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Comment down below any of the other stocks that you guys want me to watch and analyze or anything like that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.